Nepal Management Symposium 2014, brought to you by Jagadamba Steels, is powered by Samsung Mobiles, co-sponsored by Unilever and Jamboree, supported by eMazing and WorldLink, technology partner Himalayan Techies, knowledge partner Think Fusion, banking partner Megabank, magazine partner Business 360, airlines partner Thai Airways, and hospitality partner Hotel Radisson. We eagerly await to hear from our esteemed panelists on the issues related to today's session. Our panelists are Ms. Damayanti Joshi, Human Resource Manager of Nepal SBI Bank. Ma'am, would you please take? Mr. Yves Baderox, former General Manager of Marriott International. The moderator for this session is Ms. Vaijanti Khare. She's an independent consultant of strategic operations. All the knowledge shared in this session and all the happenings of Nepal Management Symposium 2014 will be tweeted under the Twitter account kcm tweet of Kathmandu College of Management and posted from Facebook account with the name kcm. Please follow the updates and help us spread the knowledge by sharing those updates. Without any further delay, I would like to hand over the floor to our moderator, Ms. Vaijanti Khare, to proceed on with the session.
Thank you, Ojasvi. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a really nice afternoon, sunny outside and so cool and cozy inside. Welcome, and I am happy that all of you have chosen to spend your Saturday afternoon. It's quite an important afternoon. A Saturday afternoon to listen, discuss, and engage on quite a crucial topic, which is the human resource management, human resource building, human capital. You may call it by various names.
I have a quick presentation. What I would like to do is just 6 slides. I would like to talk to you a little bit about what has happened over the past 30 years or so to the HR discipline in Marriott International. So, if we, in the 1980s and early 90s, the HR functions were very transactional tactical. They were mostly focused on compensation, payroll, benefits administration, recruiting, employee relations, support of management labor disputes, and training. And although these things are still there, they are no longer maybe the main focus of the discipline. Then in the 90s, we started to figure out the focus became a bit more strategic. And then in the 2000s, we had a major transformation of the HR discipline. All the transactional duties were outsourced to an outside company that you may be familiar with, called the Aon Hewitt. The recruitment now had screening tools that predetermine the ability of applicants to be successful in specific positions. So for hourly employees, typically the tool is different from if you're looking for somebody who's going to be interacting with the customers versus somebody who would not be interacting with the customers. The type of skills and abilities that we're looking for are different for those positions. The focus is now on talent development at the regional level, so there is less situations of expatriates going from the United States to Europe or Asia, because each region now is tasked with developing their own talent, which is good news for you folks, because that means that there will be a lot more opportunities for you to reach high levels of the company without having to worry about folks coming from the United States to be general managers, for instance. And I think, is there another slide? I believe there is another one. Yes. All the recruitment, all the recruitment now is done via the Marriott website. And that goes for all hourly and management employees. So you cannot just go to a hotel and say, I want to apply for a job. If you do that, they'll say, okay, there's a computer. please do apply. And one of the reasons for doing that is to ensure that there is a strong level of consistency on how we recruit people, and to eliminate the biases that could come into play when you recruit people. Training is become more attuned to regional differences while maintaining and enhancing the brand-specific traits. There are more opportunities for managers to move across brands and within their region. There are strong partnerships with local hotel schools with active engagement and annual or semi-annual recruiting, and formal internships as well. Internships have become a bit of a problem in the United States because of some of the labor laws where you cannot do anymore any kind of unpaid internships. And hotels in the United States are under so much pressure to generate profits that it has become a bit difficult for hotels to say, okay, yes, I'll take an intern, and now I have to pay it like another employee, even if they are not necessarily productive right away. The main website for recruiting, I put the link there for you, is available in multiple languages, and I put the front page on that as on the next slide. Okay, and if you see on top here, you see that you can click on links that allow you to see that website on, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 languages. Okay, so that kind of like concludes my presentation, but I'd be happy to take some questions.
Any questions directly? We can see that he has straight away entered into giving us an entire journey from how Marriott moved from, or rather how Marriott moved in its HR processes. It's very easy to say that HR is a strategic function and no more a case of just recruiting. Or like we like to say in this part of the world, it's no more about hiring and firing.
What are the prospects of women becoming a human resource manager all over the world?
What are the prospects
yes.
of... yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know everybody.
Only for Marriott, or you're talking about any industry? Are you just only for Marriott? Yes, but not for Marriott. You're not asking him for Marriott. You're asking him as a generic question. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're safe.
First of all, I would like to reassure you about the ratio of male-female employees. Marriott is very much a very progressive company on that respect. As I mentioned earlier, there are currently more female managers than male managers, and in the HR discipline in particular, they tend to be a lot more female than male managers. In terms of being able to travel the world on that discipline, it's probably not very much there, because the HR discipline, because of the labor laws and the laws that are specific to each country, tend to be very country specific. And unless you get to the very high senior management level, the opportunities to travel across from country to another are typically not there. They are there more if you are in some of the operational jobs, such as rooms management, food and beverage, catering, sales and marketing. Tools that we use for the web-based recruiting have been designed by Jan Hewitt, and they are based on the questions that are asked of the candidates are designed to evaluate the skill set or the abilities of the person. Not necessarily, they are not quantitative, if you want, okay? They are very much qualitative. They are very much designed to assess the ability of a person to be a good fit for a specific position. But the hiring is not done just from that, okay? This is just a screening tool. So typically, we'll have a number of candidates applying for a position, and the system will simply score their, whether they are matching or not with the position that is at play. And let's say that we have 10 candidates that score green, okay? And maybe 5 candidates that score yellow, and maybe 5 candidates that score red, okay? So there is not a number associated with that. It's simply red, yellow, or green.
You have this wonderful mix. You heard hospitality, Water aid is a totally different business altogether. We'll hear more of it from Mr. Tiwari, a very interesting sector. Banking, well, I've always said whenever I went for lectures, either at the Kusum or Pokhara or even my favorite KCM, that everybody runs into banks. It was very glamorous many years ago, and I remember when those years ago, I was still with Chaudhary Group, and I would say that anybody who has the dream of a bank in the eyes, please come and fold up your arms and work in the factory. Fold your sleeves, work into operations, work in the factories, and then go to the banks, but that doesn't happen. Now the glamour is slightly lesser. Maybe Damayanti would be able to tell us why it is less glamorous now to the MBA students, if it is, that is. Then of course, the talent search industry that Shailendra represents, he would be able to perhaps tell us all their topics are secrets, but still he may be able to shed light on what is it that industry really looks for.
I've never worked in HR, but I've always applied for jobs. I've also run companies and non-profits. So today I'm going to talk about a few things based on my experiences that could be generalized for all. Is that all right? Okay. In 1999, I finished my education in the US, and I had a very good job on Wall Street, a finance job. So I was all ready to go to that job, but then I got a call from Nepal, a friend in Dang Valley. He was running a social movement. So he said, Ashu, we need you over here. Because we were running well, he was in Kailali actually at the time. We basically said we're running a social movement to free 200,000 Kamayas from debt bondage. Why was he calling me when I was in Boston? He was calling me because a few years earlier, I had worked as an intern at his NGO. His NGO, which still exists, is based Backward Society Education. And basically, I spent a summer there. I wrote their research proposals. I toured around different villages. I met different people, so on and so forth. And apparently, I made an impression in such a way that Dilli Chaudhary, the chairman of that particular NGO, was calling me in Boston saying, don't go anywhere, come help us. So I had a choice, Wall Street or Kailali. I actually thought for a few days, and I decided to come back to Nepal. A couple days in Kathmandu, I went to Kailali, I worked with Tharu activists there, and in 2000 July, 200,000 people in this country, Tharu agricultural bonded laborers, were declared free by the then Prime Minister. Why am I telling you this story? In any career, what I have learned since is always know your values. What are your values? And at your age, I was completely clueless. I had a work-class education. I had all the opportunities open to me. But I wasn't quite clear about my values. I knew about my values in a general, moralistic sort of way. But I'd never been tested in any other way. So since then, I've done a few other jobs as well. And I've realized that, having a clarity of values is extremely important. Whether you want to go to HR, finance, general management, whatever. So my first lesson that I've learned in my own life is what are your values? What really drives you? And I realized if I were to summarize my own values, beyond being truthful, authentic, so on and so forth, is to be of service to others. At my present job at WaterAid, what we do is we provide 100,000 people, 1 lakh people, water and sanitation access every year in about 28 districts in Nepal. 100,000. That is, a job of service actually. So I've realized that for me, at the grand old age of 43, I've realized that maybe my values, what really drives my career, is find a way to be of service to others. For you, it could be banking, it could be hospitality, it could be insurance, it could be anything. But as long as you have that one-line sentence to describe yourself, this is what I'm here on earth for. This is what I'm trying to do. That's all right. I think most of us, we just sort of drift from one job to another job to another job. And again, at the grand old age of 43 or 45, we end up very miserable, unhappy. Maybe we made some money. That deep satisfaction that she was talking about would not be quite there. And I'm very happy to tell you that, at my age, at my position now, I'm very happy because I struggled to find my values. It wasn't easy. It wasn't something handed down by my parents or by my professor. It was something I struggled, I learned, I developed, and I think this is me. So my first suggestion to you would be spend some time developing your values. For that, hop around, take different jobs. do different things, rotate, so that you have a panoramic sense of where your skills lie, what makes you happy. Because that is really, really important. Because job, it's not that hard to get these days actually for people like you, especially KCM graduates, That's not hard to get. What is really hard to do is, be productive and be happy doing the job that you do. So I would say that for career capital, make the decision for the fundamental reason, not for instrumental reason. Instrumental reason would be, I want to make a lot of money. I want to impress a lot of people. I want to influence this and that. But the fundamental reason is, in my case, as I struggled and learned, is to be service to others. Now it doesn't matter whether I'm running Waterway. Previously I was running a media company, Himal Media, which had a lot of labor issues. And again, by the time I was clarifying my values and to be of service to readers, to subscribers, to anybody else, that value really carried me through. And I'll have more to say about that in a while. And second thing, be open to learning. This is so fundamentally important. Because, I was reading the New York Times just a couple days ago. There's an article you should read. The article is dated actually June 19, but it's already on the website. And Google, the company, these days they don't even look at your GPA. GPA is good for the first 2 years of your first job. That's it. After that, everything is so new that you have to continue to learn new things all the time. And in my own life, I studied economics and public policy. My first job, so to speak, not Wall Street job, which was finance-based, but being a social activist in Kailali, Kanchanpur, Dang, Baldia, and I'm forgetting one district there. But that was my job. Nothing in the US had prepared me for that.
HR specialization ko market ma chaina. Even now, you don't find people who are interested in HR taking a specialization in HR. Why is that? The reason behind is HR like Nepal market. I'll confine myself to Nepal and banking because whatever I've known, I've come to share here. And maybe I'll learn from you. You might be able to add up. So HR ma specialization even when I did my specialization, there were only 2 people who did specialization. When I taught HR as a specialization subject, there were hardly 5 people, taking HR as major subject, and they wanted to do more in HR. Then we realized what's happening. HR ma manje khoji manje chaina, and HR is not important. I mean, I wanted banking join gare, I wanted to do a lot of tools, naya tools banaune, naya kuraharu banaune. The first thing I started was they had a performance appraisal system. I mean, they were trying to implement a performance appraisal system where they had uniform weightage to all the parameters that were given. I said, how can an assistant be rated equally on leadership? Because he's not given an opportunity to be a leader. Well, leadership is definitely important for his level. But त्यो level like leadership त्यतिको important कसरी हुन सक्छ? Then we devised a new tool. त्यसलाई weightage दियौं, blah blah blah. We did a lot of things, but there was a lot of resistance. They said, these new all theoretical subjects, what you did in college cannot be replicated in the organization right away. This is not how an organization works. They were right to a greater extent. मैले जे पढे गरे त्यो सबै कुरा रेप्लिकेट अर्गनाइजेसनमा हुँदैन. HR is not like that, It's not that you do HR specialization, you become an HR manager. That's not true. You become an HR manager when you're able to be, when you're empathetic about your people, when you realize, people are important for your organization. It's people who drive the bottom line, as Ms. Curry said. Through realization basis, then you'll become a perfect HR manager. You'll be able to contribute. Now I'll tell how there has been paradigm shift in the perception of what HR is. Shuruma, as I said, HR was all about hire and fire. Even our professors who used to teach us, they used to tell us, HR is about recruitment, talent management, all these things. Then I realized recruitment selection is about outsourcing agencies also, they can do it. Final stage सम्म त हामीले गरे हुन्छ. We know what we require, we can give, outsource गर्न सकिन्छ, त्यो कुरा पनि गर्न सकिन्छ. Payroll that can be done by system. You have एक से एक system market मा छ अहिले, that can be done by systems, and technology can do that. But what is it that is important? So there has been slight changes in the perception of HR. Now HR is all about talent management. It is all about managing trade unions, industrial relations. It's becoming a strategic business partner. It's becoming a change agent. So when I talk about my experience, talent management. सुरुमा 3 वर्ष पहिला मैले जुन बेला हायर गरे मान्छेहरुलाई, when I hired people at Janata Bank, there was junior assistant ma we just required +2 pass गरेको भए पनि हामी लिन्थ्यौ, and it was fair group of people who were applying. When I moved to SBI, we announced vacancy for 60 people for the entry level. And how many applicants we received? It was 5,000. 5,000 for 60 people. So, there's more of talent in the market now. Earlier what it was, the executive level, the manager level, they used to have master's degrees, and entry-level people, they used to have +2 or bachelors, and there was a lot of gap, level-wise, knowledge-wise. But now, the knowledge has come to, neck-to-neck level. People who we hire are more knowledgeous than people, they're more knowledgeous. This to man, we are hiring. We want good people. We want excellent people. But is that easy to hire them? Or is that easy to retain them? The challenge is retaining them. The challenging is building a career ladder for them. It was such a difficult situation. Mansala, what we do? Do we hire all toppers? Honestly, I'll tell you, when we hired junior students, that was done a couple of months ago. We finished hiring in January. And we hired people, most of them were MBA. They finished MBA, they were willing to join as junior assistant. Earlier, MBA graduates used to get into management trainee. Management trainee join garra ek barsha pachi officer hunte हैन. So that was the career ladder. Now you have people who are very talented at the entry level itself, and they challenge you. They have more knowledge than you. And people like you have more knowledge than us. You are upgraded. You know what's going on in the world. So that talent, managing them, giving them opportunity for growing, giving them opportunity to excel is challenging. One of the employee came over to me. We just did a slight transfer. And he came over and he said, ma'am, I got into this organization. I was so enthusiastic. And he said, "Oile junior student bhayera kati barsama hamle manager hune man. When will I be in a position like you?" And that was a very good question. He was already thinking about career ladder. He already felt that he was better than his managers. And he didn't reveal it directly, but he said, will there be a system where our skills will be assessed and we will be given an opportunity to compete in the higher levels? I said, definitely, why not? You already have an opportunity to compete from externally, but internally, I promise you, I'll give you something.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I represent merojob.com, but this company is only 4.5 years old. But to reach to the scenario where we started merojob.com has a very long story there. I'm into this human resource consulting business for 12 years. I'm also with Real Solutions Private Limited, which is a HR consulting firm. We simply thought that we need to adopt technology to simplify the recruitment, to make things very simple for the people to apply for a job. Then we came up with an idea of having something similar to Monster.com or Naukri.com here in Nepal. We thought if Monster can work somewhere in the world and Naukri can work in India, why can't Merojob work in Nepal? Then that time internet penetration was really less, but we were pretty much sure that something is really going to happen that will change the world, and internet will be the basic need for every people. So now everyone can imagine that home is not a home where there is no Wi-Fi. So internet has grown till that position now. So the thing will be moving ahead like this. Now we are meeting our target, that is meeting the audience, meeting the people who will be using our site for applying for the job. And we also received lots of complaints from the people who are going abroad for in different kind of the world, like Qatar, Dubai. They said this is where for this merojob.com is where for the only literate people. What about us? Who will help us to apply for a job? So we recently opened Rozgari Pasal in various locations. Now we are opening 3 more in different cities of Nepal. Currently we have in Dolakha, Ramechhap, Dang and Kathmandu. Now we are opening on this Pokhara, Birtamor, and Butol. We'll also have one Rozgari Pasal inside airport. We want to bring our people back to Nepal. And we will also have Gumti Rozgari Pasal. So it will be moving around the country. serving lots of people, to find the people and to get a job.
It's not that you don't get into internship or in the human resource department, but most people don't prefer getting into human resource department. That's the reason behind it. Most data related to people are confidential, and it's usually not shared. Like we have interns in HR department. Currently, I have 2 interns working in HR department. What they basically do is they do the filing and they get into how the recruitment process is done and how the performance appraisal is done and promotions are worked out, transfers are worked out. So they just get to know the process, not more than that. I mean, if you get into other sectors like finance or credit, you get to understand the appraisals, all accounting, but not in HR. So that's the reason usually there are no interns hired in HR, but the information is very confidential. We don't want it to get leaked out. And other thing is, even the students they don't get to learn much by doing internship. It's very vast. If an employee, you're given access, you'll be able to learn as well. But just, that's the reason basically.
There was a survey by one of the multinational company. They did why people leave job here in Nepal, and it was not because of money. It's because they didn't see the career growth in that organizations. I agree with you that many of the organizations here in Nepal, they don't have HR at all. That's why you have an opportunity. I had an opportunity. I'm doing business on it, and then I'm establishing HR department. My company is establishing HR department in many organizations. Believe me, there is an organization which is very, very famous in terms of finance. They are doing very good, and they are 20 years old. They never had an HR department. Now, as you said, many good people have left that organization. Why? Because they didn't have an HR department. So where there is no HR department, how can we just have that kind of culture where we want to live in? How can we imagine the environment where we can adopt? So when we can't adopt in that environment, and when we don't have that culture, and when there is no very system in terms of career growth, then people definitely leave. So we have found that many organizations are lacking this kind of problem. So that's why we are doing a business on it, and we have HR software, we have different kind of services that we've been providing. Slowly it's taking its new shape here in Nepal. So I also suggest you that you check the organizations where you are applying, and then don't just go after the brand of the company, of any organizations. Look how good they are in terms of employer branding. How good are they in retaining the employees?
Conceptually, it's not much of a difference. The non-profits focus on their mission, for-profits focus on the profit, which is not a bad thing. Non-profits have a much wider range of stakeholders. For-profits compared to non-profits have a relatively small stakeholders. But as a manager, I think when I was the CEO of Himal Media, and now that I run WaterAid, my brain got a lot of work out. I was doing half my time, I was doing creative work, other half the time I was doing, ambiguous, amorphous sort of work. But in that way, I also grew as a manager, as a leader of the organization. So in summation, not much of a difference, maybe a little tweaking at the margins.
Just like we spoke that banking is a fascinating, glamorous kind of a sector people want to get in. Here in Nepal, the development sector is another very fascinating and glamorous sector that people want to get in. And there's a very little difference between non-profit and profits, as Ashutosh ji has very nicely brought about.